Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great.
Welcome to another episode of Music&Mezcal. My name is Brandon Bagg, and I am sitting here with the one and only Chelsea Crawford. How are you, Chelsea?
I'm great. Thanks
Great.
for having me.
I'm assuming I can pour you a
Yes,
small bit
please.
of mezcal. I'll slide that over.
Small or large, either's fine.
Well, what we do is we just sip it in small so that no one can tell how much you're drinking, and you can still drink lots of it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds
See?
good. Okay, thanks.
So I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I have done zero prep for this episode. Do you think we're gonna find something that we can talk about?
I think so.
I don't. We might run into some trouble. It's only been 38 years that we've known each other.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder how that happened.
I do sometimes wonder
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah. Those are nice pours. Well done. Good job. You
Yeah.
must know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's almost like I've done that before.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, Chelsea, fresh in from Maui.
Yeah.
We're going to do one of these as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How was my sip factor, like ratio?
Oh, perfect. You're a natural.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, how long have you been in Maui?
6 years?
6 years?
Yeah.
And you were, before that, you were gigging in Vancouver
Yeah.
pretty steadily for like the 6 years before that. You were here and you were on the Sunshine Coast gigging there.
Yep.
And then before that, obviously, you were in Winnipeg.
Yep.
Just in terms of, because you moved to Maui like in your 30s.
Yeah. That means I'm in my 40s now.
I wasn't going to fucking say anything. You didn't have to out yourself. Have you managed to like tap into the music scene much in Maui since you've been over there?
Just like I moved to Maui and was really just heavily into doing restaurants stuff, and I didn't really get a chance to get back into music until COVID happened. COVID kind of saved my music life a little bit.
Is that when you set up your studio in the house?
Yeah. We wanted to do a bed and breakfast. That didn't work out. So we had this space.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, we had this great space, but weird kind of shaped room. And I was furloughed from work. Everything was shut down. So Rob just said, why don't we build a music studio? And I said, great. I didn't know how to do it, but he did it. So
Well, it's handy to have someone that,
yeah, so that
things for
was really good. It actually didn't take that long. I think maybe a couple months. We had it pretty much up and running, and then we've kind of tweaked it as we've been going. And then it was just the two of us that were getting back into trying to write and figure out what we could do with his studio. And it's only really been in about the last 6 months where I've really tapped into playing with other artists and kind of expanding outside of just working in our own studio. And it's been really cool. I've been playing with different styles of musicians that I haven't played with before. And also I think I've let a lot of my own ideas of what kind of musician I want to be or what I'm playing for go and just have fun. And so it's been good. It's been really good.
As someone who's kind of had to break into scenes fresh at different stages in your life, you were 18 when you moved to Winnipeg?
Yep.
And you went to music school out there, right? Mm-hmm. So starting out in Winnipeg, which is, I've heard from a lot of people, there's quite a good music community there.
Yeah.
And then coming here, but not coming straight to Vancouver, being first in the Sunshine Coast, playing music out there, recording an album out there, also playing with your then partner, and then moving into the city, trying to break into the scene here, and now going to Maui, and you're doing the same thing all over again. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's a different set of challenges for doing that in different places, specifically different phases of your life? Being, along that way you became a mother. Mm-hmm. There were couple divorces in there. Like,
Oops.
Oops. How do you find that those challenges differ and compare from
good
city to city at
question.
different points in your life?
They're definitely different. I think every place that I had to transition to also represented a really different stage in my life. So the challenges that I was dealing with were very, very much aligned with where I was at in my life. But also being an artist that first is just a baby and just kind of starting out. And I think Winnipeg for me I was really trying to define who I was, and at the time I wanted...
What, at 19? Jeez.
At the time,
no one does that.
Yeah, I know it was, but I think in Winnipeg, I was really just starting to play shows. I was just starting to write my own music and put it out there. I was just starting to play with different bands, and so I was kind of popped into that like jazz world that I didn't really fully connect with. I love the jazz music. I always have, but it was hard for me to feel like I had to play that kind of music. And so I know when I moved to the Sunshine Coast, I really tried to break out of that. And I didn't want to be a jazz artist. I wanted to just be me and be able to just feel free that like I could write whatever I wanted. And I felt very fortunate that I ended up getting to work with artists there that were really on the songwriting side. It wasn't about what are you going to play or like you have to play this, but it was about let's write great music together and see what happens. And I think that really helped me kind of just mature as a musician, but also just as a person. And then when we decided to move into Vancouver, we really were trying to break into the scene. And it was hard, but at the time, I think this was like over 10 years ago. At the time, there was a lot out there. There's a lot of great small venues to play. I'm out of touch with Vancouver now, so there might still be all of those great places, but
They're disappearing.
I know like Railway
They're coming
Club.
back.
I used to play there all the time, and that was one of my favorite places to play. And places like that. It was artists were really supportive of each other, and they really did help us. Like they just picked us up, and they were like, "Let's play together. Let's do fun shows together." And really, the only reason I think why I stopped is because my life just drastically changed. So I just went through some things that I just didn't have time. I couldn't emotionally put myself into music. So I just kind of let it go for a while. And moving to Maui was a fresh start. And I didn't think I kind of thought I was done. I sold a lot of instruments. I really didn't think I was going to take it back at all. And then it happened, and it's really cool. It's cool now when I'm playing. I don't care what happens. I don't care if nobody hears it or if everyone hears it, or I just love to do it. And so I love to collaborate with people and have that as an outlet emotionally. And it's a lot of the pressure's off now. So it's like I hit 40. I'm a mom. Like, what if not? Whatever. Like it's cool. Like if it's just playing shows and having fun, that's great. Like I don't have this like big.
Yeah.
I have to make it. I kind of felt like I made it. Like I survived.
You made it to 40. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
What's the experience been like for you returning to writing as now in your life after taking a hiatus? You've got a 10-year-old son. You're in a completely different part of the world than you were in when you were writing as a teenager and young woman in her 20s. Has it been? Has you found any like internal resistance in that, like, or did it just pop back?
Well, when Mom passed away, I stopped writing. I couldn't go there. I didn't think I would be able to write again. Every time I tried to do anything, I just was too sad. Music was too sad, and music for me has always been a happy place. And so it took me a long time to have some space and deal with my emotions and put things where they needed to go. And so now when I write, it's very similar. I like writing about people. I like writing about what I see. I don't write a ton about myself. It's more I'm more of an observer when I write. But there's been a few songs lately that I'm writing that I'm actually going deeper than I think I have before, and I think I just feel more safe with myself. I feel like it's okay if people know what I'm talking about. I don't have to hide it in my lyrics. You know, it's okay if, like, everybody knows what's happened in my life now that knows me, so I don't have anything to hide. And I think when I was a young artist, I was trying to be somewhat cryptic with my writing.
Yeah, you want to be like super secretive, right?
Yeah, or I'm like, I want to write about this, but I don't want anyone. Yeah, I'm like, I can't tell anyone that's what this is about, or otherwise they're going to judge me, or I'll get in trouble. Or whereas now it's just very much more freeing. Also, writing in a place where Vancouver's beautiful. I will give it that. It's gorgeous here, but for me, I have a really hard time with the cold and the rain, and so living in a place where it's just sunshine and lollipops all the time.
Rub it the fuck in, why don't you?
As other kinds of music come out, you're really I'm affected by my environment when I'm writing. Yeah. So there's kind of a lightness for sure. Writing as a mom too, it's different emotions. Yeah. There's maybe more of a softness. Not trying to be edgy or cool or anything. It's just
that you talk about when writing as a younger person, you're trying that sense of trying to be cryptic or mysterious, of like not wanting people to know the full details of what you're talking about, and then maybe getting like excited about the people that can figure it out or whatever. Do you find that there's an element of that when writing as a mother? I'm like, do I want this to be really on the nose?
Yes. Yes. And Sam is super smart. He's very artistic. He writes stories and poems and himself. He's really so he's pretty aware. You can't really put much past him. So I do think about it, but at the same time, I kind of think, well, this is healthy teaching moments, for him to maybe ask questions about, what are you talking about? Why did you? And he listens to the words that he sings along with me sometimes. So, definitely I think about it, but I also think it's okay. He's at an age now where if he's asking the question, he probably is ready for the answer. I mean, I'm not like, there's not a lot of profanity in my writing, so it's not really, it doesn't have the little E next to it on iTunes,
Or do you remember the mark of a cool CD when you were a teenager? Was a little parental advisory. Yes. It's like all the good albums.
Yep. Alanis Morissette.
Rage. Yep. Offspring, the album that everyone had in the 90s. Yeah. Yep.
I do. Yeah. And I remember trying to hide it from mom and pop. Yeah. And there were some there. We got to listen to Jagged Little Pill in the van on family road trips, and they didn't even turn it down when she said fuck. Like, it was like, that was like a big deal.
I remember that period of music really well, because I was just the age difference between us moving 2 years. We won't say who's older.
I won't say.
But in the 90s, I was 2 years younger. We've switched since then.
No.
But also,
we're twins now. Remember?
We're twins. Yeah. Twins. Also, our older brother, who was 4 years older than me, I was very exposed to what you guys were listening to at like 10. When you were 12 and 14, you had the cool stuff was coming through the door from you guys. And I remember noticing at that point that, like, because the rate of profanity in popular music went from 0 to 100 in the 90s.
Yeah, it did.
Everybody's like one of my favorite songs because of the nostalgia is Bad Habit by Offspring. And I remember everyone had you all like, we couldn't listen to that in our car, right? There's no way that was hidden. Like,
Totally.
but we all had everyone had that one like cool parent that didn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. And it was, for me, it was the Yanamoris. Drew and Devin Yanamori.
Oh yeah, the Yanamoris.
Yeah, so they lived down the street from us.
Hey, they were great.
And I remember being in the car with my friend Devin's dad, and that song would come on, and he'd let us turn it up during the stupid dumb shit, goddamn motherfucker. And it was it was a very exciting time to be alive in the 90s.
I watched RoboCop on Laserdisc at the Yanamori's house.
Oh,
for the first time, like RoboCop. We weren't allowed to watch that, but Sam's seen it, so.
Yeah, you're a bad mom.
I know.
So there's a story I want to run by you because
Okay.
it's a story that I remember. Can you do me a favor? Can you hum the Chariots of Fire theme tune? Do you remember it? Yeah. So this is how I remember this story. And I remember this being when you started playing piano. Mm-hmm. And it was, we had rented that movie, and it was like a movie that I think Mom loved it. It was one they had probably seen in the theaters when it was out, and it came out on DVD, and we rented it. We watched it as a family. And the theme song, very, very famous theme song. Mm-hmm. It was like later that night, you must have been 8, maybe, because it was in the Lake's house.
Yeah. Lake's house, I would have been 10.
Which is, Lake's house was in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
because I was 8 when I lived in the house. And then I just remember hearing you play that song and it being like, where the fuck did she learn how to do that? And I was like, okay, maybe we should get her some piano lessons.
Yeah, that happened.
So we have the same version of events.
Yeah, but you forgot the beginning part of this. Just the when he's like doing that. I tried to figure out that part on the piano. Like I was trying to do the tapping thing, and then I think it was Mom that was like, "You should do the melody."
Yeah.
And then I did it was. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's like 4 notes, C.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool that they were really supportive of it, and it took some time to find a good piano teacher. Actually, my first one was terrible. She would smack my hand because I was learning by ear, and it was hard for me to read music, and so she'd smack my hand because she'd think I would be reading it, and then she'd stop me and she'd point out a spot on the page and say, "Play from there," and I had no idea.
You wouldn't know how to do it.
My hand would get smacked and stuff, and so I didn't want to play anymore. And then Mom said she found somebody else she thought would be great, and she was. Her name was Sharon. And
Sharon wasn't she like connected to our church or something?
Erica Wright's mom.
Erica Wright's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a trip. It goes back. Yeah. And you studied piano. So we were in Vegas for like another 5 years after that, and you were studying piano the whole time. Mm-hmm. Did you pick it up again when we moved to Canada?
Yeah, I picked up. I got a great teacher, and I did the whole Royal Conservatory thing, and worked through that. And then decided to move to Winnipeg and do music there, and continue to.
You went to school in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
Which school? The music school?
UW. UW. And then they had the Canadian Mennonite University was the offshoot of UW. They worked together, and the music portion was through CMU, but it was through U of W. And so I was taking my academic courses at U of W, but all my music at CMU. And that was cool.
You were studying jazz there?
I was studying classical, actually.
Oh, really?
And then that's when I got really into. There was a great jazz scene there, and it just jived with me because I had all this classical background of all through being a kid and learning classical music and doing Royal Conservatory, but feeling like as a songwriter, I want to sing and I want to write words and everything, and you can do it in classical music. I know you can, but I felt kind of restricted. And the jazz world was just, I was like, what is this? This is amazing. And it was really, really great opportunity. But then I was also feeling, I would remember there were times where I would write a song and I'd be working with musicians that were strictly jazz, and they'd be like, oh, that's not jazz. We can't, like, we got to change that, or,
Right.
So it was kind of, it was just a learning process where I'm figuring out how to be confident in myself as a musician, to not have to be categorized very specifically. And I think a lot of musicians struggle with that. I don't know one musician when you ask them, what kind of music do you play? And they're like,
Yeah. Plus, there's so many that play again, being in my position at work, I have the luxury of meeting so many amazing musicians who play so many different genres. And, this one guy, just off the top of my head, Jimmy Baldwin, when he does his own gig there, he's a great performer, a really great guy too. He does like country stuff, and he'll do like country, but like kind of rockabilly. Yeah. My favorite is when he does the Boss, and he'll always do like, cool. if he knows him in the room, he'll give me a shout out for a Boss tune. Yeah. But he plays in a funk band as well that plays in the city all the they it's like they all do that. Yeah. And it's music. One of the things that makes it so amazing is I think it, for people who really love music, or people who play it, I don't know a lot of people who hate it and play it. So maybe just people that love it. Simplified. It transcends genres.
Yeah,
it transcends,
totally does.
That closed-mindedness.
Yeah, I think it's
the universal language.
Yeah,
people say it's science or math. But what do they know?
Yeah, I've been listening to. So I'm a nerd, and
Really?
and I'm really restricted. I restrict myself sometimes with my choices because I get overwhelmed with choices. And right now, I have this drive to work, and this is all this opportunity to listen. And I often listen to this podcast on that drive, actually. But I also have about 4,080 songs downloaded onto my phone, and I'm currently listening to them in alphabetical order by first name.
By first name?
Not by first name. Sorry, by the alphabetical order by the song title, by the first letter of the song.
Oh, okay. You're not going alphabetically artist first name, because that would be an abomination.
Songs in alphabetical order, but there's it's very interesting because sometimes you'll have 15 of the same songs, but by different artists, or the same artist that did it 3 different times with different. And I'm not allowed to skip a song. That's a rule I've given myself.
That's your rule.
You're
an insane person.
I know, but it makes me happy. So
there you go.
I'm not allowed to skip a song, and unless it's an actual duplicate where I downloaded the best of, and then it's also that exact same song is on the actual album. So that I'm allowed. I give myself a little bit of freedom. I'm not absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But it's really been really fun to listen to music that way. And Sam is along for the journey with me, because if he's in the car with me, he has to listen to whatever the next song is. So he's been listening to opera. He's been listening to all sorts, like Tool he got introduced to, and he was like, who is this? This drummer is amazing. I'm like, I know. But then Dolly Parton, and so it's been really cool to listen to music that way. And it makes you realize how important it is to expand, what you listen to. But it makes me want to write different types of stuff, because I'm listening to these great artists, and I'm like, I've been really into bluegrass lately. Like, it's just bluegrass. Like so good. And it's so complicated and intricate. And
I was just in, I don't know why this made me think of this, but I was just in Ireland a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
And I was only there for just a couple of days. We were there visiting a friend. And we went into this one pub in Athlone. It's called Sean's Bar. It's the oldest known pub in the world.
Wow.
It's there might be a building that's a pub that's but it's this. They have this, and it's it's what they say, so it's fun to believe.
Yeah.
It dates back to 900 AD.
Wow.
It's just and it's just been sitting there right on the banks of the River Shannon for 1,200 years.
That's so cool.
And we went in, and they had just expanded it. I think for a few years before that. So the whole back area was different than the original pub, but it was the Sean's Bar had licensed themselves to stretch out into the alley behind them, or whatever it was. And so you go past the initial part of the pub, and it opens up, and there was like, it was really weird. There was like, I don't know if I don't remember whether or not there's a DJ, but like there's a smoking room in the back, and then all of a sudden this music got really fucking loud, and they didn't dim the lights, and it was just like this weird, super bright, like trying to be nightclub on a weekday. And we were like, let's go back into the pub side. We went in, we were able to find ourselves a little table, but we were right next to the outside, and as we were leaving the pub, so our friend was driving, and we had to get back to we were staying about 30 minutes down the road, and we all had to get up early the next day. Right as we're leaving, we see a band at the front entrance, and it's like the scene from like every movie where there's an Irish band playing in a pub. They're all just sitting around in a circle, like there's no stage.
Yeah.
There's just musicians sitting in a circle. There was a harp. There was a penny whistle, which is not what the Irish call them. I forget what they call them. But when I said penny whistle, my friend looked at me like, "What the fuck?" Or maybe it was the Brit that was there. They didn't call it a penny whistle. But it was such a neat experience, just being in that, and just in that culture. The music is so ingrained, and I feel like bluegrass came a lot from Celtic folk music.
Yeah, it totally did. Yeah.
And I forget where I was going there, but
Bluegrass rocks.
Bluegrass rocks.
Yeah, it's good. I had that similar experience to that when I was in Scotland, and I think we were in Edinburgh, but maybe we were possibly in Stirling, but we wandered into this pub that was built under like bridge stairs or something, just built into the wall, and wandered in there, and there's this main room, and then there a kind of a bar, and then on the other side there was this back room that was very much cave-ish because it's just stone walls.
I love the old pubs over there.
So
all just
cool.
like
Yeah.
cave.
It's just wicked.
You just feel like you're in a castle basement.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah. And it's the same. It was this big, huge circle of people just sitting in a circle. Some of them had instruments, some of them didn't. And they were just trading in the original way that people traded musically, where they would just sit there and someone would come up with something, and it was so magical. I'm not somebody that gets really teary-eyed or gets all choked up much, but I actually got emotional being in that environment and just feeling like I was experiencing where music came from, and like the history of music. And obviously growing up in North America, we don't have that rich history here. We are a very young country, and so being in these old buildings, and you just feel like you're going back in time, and you're getting to hear what music, where it started from. And it's so cool. I really, it was amazing. It impacted me as a musician, definitely. And it makes me want to go back. I definitely want to go back and experience more of that for sure.
Yeah. You talk about history of music. And I think I've talked about this on this show a few times with a few different artists, but one of the things I love so much about what you can call American music, and by American music I mean the continent, not the country, but it's very specifically how I identify with what I grew up listening to and what I seek out. There's a very specific region in the southern United States where blues, country, bluegrass, rock and roll, all born, and it's all born from this cross influence of stuff that was happening in from Africa, from Europe, and from the British Isles, and the rhythm of it all is all from Africa. Yeah, and that's where that sound of blues and jazz it comes from, and it's like you have these, and it's also like pain and horror and terrible things. Yeah. But there's something very, very special about the music of this continent because of where it comes from. Both the horror and the beauty coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true, and I think I didn't grow up with that. We didn't live in places where that was happening when we were kids. Like we
were also pretty sheltered too, right? So we were kind of clueless to a lot of it.
Yeah, we listened to Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, what I think a lot of people were listening to. But we didn't grow up there's a lot of music in our house, but it was selective. We didn't grow up. We grew up, Alaska, we were living in the boonies, didn't have electricity sometimes.
Yeah, you probably remember Alaska more than I do.
Yeah.
I was 6 when we left.
There wasn't a lot of, there was none of it.
No, that's in Canada.
What?
None
of it. Oh, oh, you're clever. But yeah, even when we moved to Las Vegas, yes, it's not really much of a music community there. It's acts coming in. It's the big show. It's not what the kind of stuff we are really into. If Elvis was alive when we were in Las Vegas, I would have been into that for sure. But
yeah, I'm always surprised by how because you love Elvis.
I love Elvis.
I think he's overrated.
You're wrong.
No, yeah, well, I guess my biggest frustration with Elvis is my asinine obsession with historical accuracy.
Yes, okay. I get it.
And the king of rock and roll no way should that be his title. In no way. He wasn't like the best rock and roll act at the time. He wasn't always rock and roll. He stole most of his music. He was a good performer. I'll give him that.
He was a great performer.
Yeah, sure. Great performer. No argument. No argument. But why, it's just like that's everything that's wrong with the history
Well,
of
I don't really
music,
think
right?
of him as the king of rock and roll.
Right.
I just think him as
pop
the king.
culture, that's...
Yeah. But I don't really think that pop culture thinks of him as the king of rock and roll. I think that's his title. He's the king.
Yeah.
I think that he, just like a lot of artists from that time, I think he brought something forward that was in the back that nobody was really listening to, and he made it very popular. He Glenn Millered rock music. He sexified it too. I mean, he was like a sex symbol. Like there's a lot that he was doing that broke a lot of barriers and all of that.
Glenn Miller, Elvis, Eminem.
There you go.
All white dudes who are just like, hey, look what that guy does.
Yeah.
I'm going to make way more money than him doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that I love about Elvis is I love his voice. There's just something about his voice that has always caught me. I've told you this story before, but not everybody else. I was in love with him. I thought I was going to marry him. I was determined. I was like, this is who I'm going to marry. And I was 5 or something.
Did you have any photographs of him?
I watched I used to watch his old movies at Tutu and Grandpa's when I was a kid. So we'd go to Tutu and Grandpa's and I'd watch old Elvis movies. And I remember saying to Winston, our older brother, that I was going to marry him. And he said, he's fat and dead. just
destroyed you.
Broke my heart. Yeah. I was just like, look at him. He can't be fat and dead. Look at this beautiful person. Yeah. But I didn't really get into older Elvis at that age. I was really into his movies, and the movies were I just loved them. I watched.
I don't think I've ever seen an Elvis film all the way through.
You don't. They're great, but I don't know. I think it's one of those movies that maybe if you did, I don't know, maybe try one and see how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's like rewatching 80s fantasy films with someone who hasn't seen them.
Yeah.
It's like this is the best movie ever.
Yeah. Because it's super cheesy.
Halfway through the never-ending story, they're like, this is shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not.
Yeah, like the dance scenes with it's very it's the time when movies were very theatrical. It was a different style, and it transitions in the 70s and 80s, 60s a bit from being theater style acting to film acting.
I think it took film, the medium, a long time to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was, you start with the silent film era.
Yeah. Which
was still very, it was almost like in the vein of pantomime. Because it was all physicality. And then you move into the early talkies where they were so limited by what they could do because the adding sound to the production really limited what they could do visually. So a lot of the creativity that silent film directors and stuff were doing totally went out the window.
Yeah.
And then, you have like the Clark Gable era and all that stuff coming in. And it was very, like, what movie did I watch the other day? Where every female character in the first 30 years of cinema is hysterical.
Yeah.
For the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Just in hysterics. And I think it took film a long time to find its feet.
It did, for sure.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Hitchcock that's on Netflix right now, which has been really fun to watch. And I feel like that kind of is when it's like that there's some heavy female leads there. Still hysterical, but definitely, I don't know.
Do you know I forget the name of the actor, the main actor in The Birds, Psycho, the shower scene. She apparently wouldn't take a shower for the rest of her life.
Really?
Yeah, she would, baths only, but if she had to take a shower, she had a very specific routine of locked doors and not locked doors.
Wow.
Just to be able to take a shower. Yeah. And also there's the industry's peppered with those stories of actors who
being
have been
abused,
who have been who've just PTSD for the rest of their lives. The Shelley Duvall, Shining.
Oh yeah. I've
Just the horror stories that Stanley Kubrick put her through is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Yeah. You were worried that we were going to sit and talk about movies.
Ah, dang it. We like movies though, and music in movies intertwine.
That's true.
And music.
Do you have a favorite? Oh, let's talk about the soundtrack to Batman Forever.
Oh, so good.
Terrible film.
I never liked the film.
Don't rewatch it.
Yeah, I don't have a desire to.
But the soundtrack was really good.
But I bought that CD.
I know. I remember
in the mall.
I remember
in Las
snagging the CD
Vegas.
from you and going to put it
Yeah, it was a great.
Yeah.
So many good. I was introduced to so many great artists. The artists that I had. PJ Harvey was on there. Didn't know who PJ Harvey was.
Right, she was.
And just blew my mind. And it was this female that just killed it. It was this crazy rocker that wrote kind of like Tom Waitsy kind of lyrics. And I didn't know who Tom Waits was at the time, but not thinking about it now. Yeah, I think that was a winner for me. They're all good. Like Seal, Kiss from a Rose. Yeah. Everyone wants to sing. I don't know anyone who doesn't like that song. It's great. It's so good.
It's really funny talking about sing-along songs. Our older brother recently got married. Mm-hmm. And
Hey, Winston.
And when just chatting with him, I think he was barbecuing, they did it in a park. It was really,
I missed
really
it.
fun.
It was sad.
And he's talking about Journey, Don't Stop Believin'.
Yeah.
And Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And there was one other song, and of course he hates them both. And he's like, but I will hand it to him. He was like, I don't hate them because they're bad songs. I'm not going to even say that they're bad songs. Yeah. This doesn't really matter one way or the other. I hate them because every time they come on, every fucking white guy in the room thinks he turns into a fucking rock star.
I also kind of hate them for that.
And then
reason.
you're in the bar and there's an entire bar trying to do, trying to match Freddie Mercury's 8 octaves or whatever. Something crazy that he could do. Was it 8?
It's 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was tracking in the studio years ago, and the engineer had some of his vocal tracks that were just raw vocal tracks that didn't have any, and we listened to them and they're perfection. He studied it in school, and they used it as an example of and it's incredible, that instrument that he had. Really cool.
So being that we're doomed to probably talk about movies, but we also
it's cool. We'll tie in music.
Like to talk about music. Did you see the film?
I haven't. I really want to. I haven't seen it yet.
He's great. I'm blanking on his name. Remy Malek. Remy Malek. Yeah. He does a really, really good job. Yeah. Again, historical accuracy. There are parts of the film that bug me. Yeah. Because they tweak his storyline a bit, and I think they cheapen it a little bit. Yeah. Because it's really like him. The fact that he didn't tell any of his bandmates how sick he was until weeks before his death. And then it was I think it's one of the most beautiful historical moments of musical history, 20th century musical history, is the song "Can't Anybody Find Me Somebody to Love," which he recorded on his last album when he had not told anyone that he was sick.
Wow.
And then you hear that song and you're like, just it hits you. It hits you deep.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not a weepy person, but like it's knowing that, and they switch the order around and make it so that he tells him that he's sick like way before the Live Aid concert. Sorry, I've just ruined the movie for you.
No, it's okay. I'm going to see it. I actually have a really hard time watching those kinds of movies that are about an artist that I really love. I haven't seen the Elvis movie yet.
I haven't seen it either. It didn't look good. That's why
I don't know.
And it's Baz Luhrmann, who I love.
I also love Baz Luhrmann, but I
just don't know if I want to see him do a historical documentary type, not documentary, but.
Yeah, I think I really loved Walk the Line. I thought that was pretty good, when you take but there's not been that many movies that I've seen where it's about a musical artist that I like, that I'm like, yes, they totally nailed it.
Enjoyed Walk the Line, but I remember talking to, I don't remember who it was, someone who was a really big Johnny Cash fan when that movie came out, and I wasn't. Like, I was familiar with his biggest stuff.
Yeah.
But I've actually I know much more Johnny Cash now than I did before I saw the movie. It kind of sent me in that direction.
Right.
But I remember them saying that they really didn't like his portrayal of Joaquin Phoenix, the Joaquin Phoenix portrayal of him, because they were like, I grew up, my family grew up listening to Johnny Cash, and they felt they had played him like too soft. And it's because there's, and I don't know if that was just like, oh, we want our Johnny Cash to be manly and impervious to emotions, but it was interesting to know that there was like that other viewpoint of a lot of people. A lot of people that I spoke to didn't like his performance, but
that's
I
interesting.
did.
I thought it was great.
So
I'd read his biography, so I definitely felt like they at least followed his story really well and the things that he had gone through. Obviously it's a movie, so they got to change some things, but I loved his performance. I thought it was great. And I've seen videos of Johnny Cash, but I also we didn't grow up listening to him. I was a fan leader. I'm a huge fan now.
Yeah.
But
Totally forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. Johnny Cash, that's when you drink more mezcal.
That's when I drink more mezcal.
Yeah.
No, interesting footnote. I was really, really surprised to find out how many people that are like more than 5 years younger than me and below have no idea that he didn't write Hurt.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah, of course, because Nine Inch Nails.
He had to call and ask permission, and he didn't believe him.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I'm hanging up on you. That's not Johnny Cash.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he called and asked to ask for permission, and the guy hands him, and he's like, hey, it's Johnny Cash on the phone. He wants to talk to you. And he picks it up.
Trent Reznor?
Yeah. And he's like, hey, this is Johnny Cash. And he's like,
hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't believe you. And he hangs up on him. That's the story I heard.
His version of that song is beautiful, but
yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. The one that pissed me off the most that I can't get over, this is way a long time. This is when Shrek came out. So I think I lived in Winnipeg at the time.
Oh, the Smash Mouth doing.
Yes. I'm standing in line.
What song is it?
Hallelujah. Leonard Cohen.
They do Hallelujah in Shrek?
Somebody does Hallelujah in Shrek. There's also the I'm a Believer too, but someone
song,
covers
right?
Hallelujah,
which is actually written. I think I'm a Believer. I don't think it's written.
No, it was written by
Sweet Caroline.
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, we're gonna find out if we're right or wrong after we're gonna Google. Be like, shoot, right or not.
Neil Diamond wrote like a few of the Monkey songs.
Yeah,
he wrote Last Train to Clarksville.
Yes, I knew that one. But yeah, so I'm standing in line. It's a Huxley Workman show. The opener is
Who I met.
shut
Jealous
up.
much?
Shut up. I've been to well, maybe not now since he played 4 shows at Guild. But
Yeah.
I have seen him 13 times.
You probably still have.
I'm
yeah.
such a nerd for Huxley. I'm super jealous.
Such an.
Haven't given up yet. It will happen. One day I'll get to meet him.
It was like they tell you you're not supposed to meet your heroes, and it was.
Yeah.
There was an element in the back of my head. I was like, please don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Please don't be a dick. Please don't be a dick. The sweetest guy ever. Him
Really?
and
I believe it.
and lonely, and they were just lovely humans.
They're
so genuine and so down to earth, and just really just love to play and love to, and they were really, really great guys.
That's what I've heard from everybody that I know that have met him and worked with him.
It was a delight to meet them.
I mean, I just also love his diversity. You go from, writing.
It's right. It's
every album
great.
is such an amazing experience. It's like,
well, I love for years he was doing like 2 a year. He would release like the more like
the hardcore,
the poppy, like sort of rocker album, and then he would release like a
Tree Full of Starling.
It's like that came out the same year as Los Manlicious, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're really close together. And Lover Fighter was right before that, but not like a couple years before that, I think. But yeah, so I was standing in line for a Huxley song. The opener, I can't remember who the opener was, but a local Winnipeg artist. And he's covering Huxley. I'm waiting to get a beer. I'm in the lineup for a beer, and this person is standing in front of me. And at the time, I thought I was old and cool because I was like probably 25, and they were maybe 20. So I'm like, I'm so much older and cooler than you.
You were what?
I was 25, maybe 24.
I was seeing if I could get you to do that again.
Oh, 25. I'll do it anytime. But I'm standing in line. Hallelujah comes on, and these chicks are chatting. Like, oh, I love this song. It's so great. Yeah, it's on the new Shrek album. I'm pretty sure they wrote it for the movie. And I love Cohen, and I'm just standing there.
He also spent like 15 years writing that song, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And he gave it to Jeff Buckley. I saw Leonard Cohen. I had the opportunity to see him twice in Vancouver before he passed away. Actually was pregnant with Sam, and he kicked for the first time
at the concert?
At a Cohen concert. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But everybody in the crowd at that show was chanting Hallelujah. They wanted him to play it so desperately. And he came out, and he's so smooth on stage. He's such a gentleman. He's just so composed and classy, and he's has such respect for his bandmates and everything. And he comes out, and he's like, gets everyone to quiet down. He kind of kneels down on his knee, and he's like, looks like he's going to sing it. And then he says, I'm sorry, everybody, but somebody else owns this song now. I'll never be able to do it as well as they did. And he said, I won't play the song, but I'll cover one of his songs. And then he like stops, and he plays a Jeff Buckley song. And it was just such a beautiful moment that like, it's one of his most famous songs, and he recognized, I wrote a great song, but this other artist got it even more than me, and he just passed it away to him. And it was just a pretty magical moment. And it's cool when artists can do that, It was, I think about it. I get chills still.
There's so many songs like that. Like the first one that comes to mind is All Along the Watchtower. Yeah. Which is, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. Mm-hmm. I love all of the offerings of Bob Dylan. Yeah. But you can't deny that Jimi Hendrix is
totally.
There's more there.
He killed it.
It's just yes, that's the version. That's the one that. And it's a really neat thing to when that music does that. Mm-hmm. Is that and that's why I love the expression that I've heard some writers use in lieu of wrote, found. Yeah. This is a lick that I found the other day when I was noodling on the guitar, because it's like, it doesn't belong to anybody, really. I mean, it does, and I firmly support musicians owning the rights to their own music. Okay. Yeah. But like, there is that
but you have to give it back. Yeah. You write it, and but there's something magical about giving it away and and seeing the journey. Where does it go? Like, what's going to happen
Yeah.
with this? And I think that that's relevant even when you're writing music. Just like thinking about, you asked earlier about the journey of, do you write differently? And I used to write songs, and I used to be so picky about it not getting changed. I'm like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. I wrote it this way. I don't want to change it. And now I love it when songs change. Like I just get so excited when an artist has a better idea than me, which usually happens, that the song, you have this idea, but then you have to give it back. And then you have to it's alive. You got to let it just do its journey and go where it's going to go. And also it's okay to change a song later. You can write a song and then 10 years later say, I'm going to change these words because my life's changed. And now this song means something different to me. Or, I think that's really cool when you can do that. And you can do that with yourself, but it's cool when you can give it out too.
It's funny. I just popped in my head because I saw this meme the other day. It's a bit of a sidebar. Taylor Swift, who I'm not, I don't put on Taylor Swift when I'm driving
I don't
around.
either, but I think she's great. Like,
But
huge respect.
power to her. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I just read somewhere, or not read. I say read. It was a blurb on my phone. I was probably taking a shit at the time. She recently re-recorded all. She didn't own the masters to her first 3 albums.
Really?
So she got the entire team, spent millions of dollars. Maybe not millions, but spent a bunch of money to produce and re-record all of her albums.
Wow.
All her early ones, so that she would own the masters.
I want to own all those albums
I'm
now.
like, that's such a fucking G move.
Yeah, that's so
cool.
awesome. That's wicked. I really liked it. I have songs that I have hers I really like.
Oh, they're catchy as fuck. Yeah.
But I have.
She's good.
Yeah, she's
I'm not
amazing.
I don't turn it off.
She's
when it
very
comes
good.
on. Yeah.
I have so I did a lot of weddings, and I taught voice, and a lot of my students were the age of about 8 to 13. And I had to teach a lot of 8 to 13-year-olds really catchy Taylor Swift songs. So I think that's maybe why I kind of am like,
Yeah.
I can go there. But I think she's amazing. She's good. Now I think she's really amazing. I think I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great.
So you've got the studio at home. Mm-hmm. Have you guys been recording?
Mm-hmm. Slowly. I don't know how to record, meaning I don't know how to do any of the cool, actually difficult stuff on the computer. I can write the songs and I can
Didn't you just
sing them.
push a button?
Yeah,
right?
I thought that was that easy.
It's that easy, right, Paco? You just push a button.
But Rob actually went to Nimbus. He's for sound engineering, so he can
I don't know what Nimbus is.
It's sound school here in Vancouver. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, he
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. And he just wrote a book too.
Rob, for the viewers at home, is
go
Chelsea's
figure.
husband.
Yeah. Right. So he can do that stuff, and he's really good at it. He's a great producer. He's got that, and he's also a musician. But I think he's more interested in making songs really good. Mm-hmm. I've always in the past written songs, gotten them ready, and then gone to the studio to record. But when you're just you and somebody else and you're trying to do full band style music, it means that you actually have to write the song while you're recording it. Because I don't know what it's going to sound like with a bass and with drums and things. Yeah. So it's a different process, which has been really fun. But yeah, we have a studio with a vocal booth and all the fun stuff. So it's pretty fun.
Cool.
We've been recording. We were recording, and then I kind of started working with these other artists, and Rob's definitely more on the engineering side. So he was like, why don't you work with these guys and then come back in and I'll record you. And that's kind of where we're at. So we've been trying to kind of fine tune songs and figure out the style that we've got a Cuban and a metal head and a guy that plays what do they call the box drums that you sit on? What are those called? The one that it's like a big box and you sit on.
There's a really famous video of Ben Harper playing one.
Yeah.
I think they call it a box.
No, there's
No, I have no idea.
I don't know what it's called, but it's really cool.
Yeah,
so that's our drummer is playing that, and then we've got a guy that's playing he's got a metal background, and then Jose's kind of Cuban style music and then me. So it's taken us a bit of time to sort of figure out what our music's going to sound like and what we're doing. But it's been a lot. It's been really fun. It's been fun because I've always been kind of the leader on the piano, kind of having to sort of carry the song just structurally. And because there's other people that can do that, I get to kind of just noodle on the piano. And I'm like, I get why people want to be lead guitarists. It's great. You don't have to worry about rhythm. Like you can just get, you know, so it's been fun to there's been lots of nights where we jam and we're not even singing. We're just fully just trying to kind of figure the music out, and really funky chord structures and rhythms I'm not used to playing, which is really fun. But we're kind of gearing up to hopefully work on some stuff and start recording that. So far, everything I've done in the studio is more solo.
Yeah.
Which is also really fun.
You mentioned that the one of your guitarists has got a metal background, and you, having been trained in your early training was in classical.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it was our younger brother, Robbie.
Oh yeah.
Who kind of inadvertently showed me that they're the same thing.
Yeah.
And,
he's so good.
And and I remember when he was like, I don't know, 14, and he did that. I think it was a Bach overture or something.
It was.
And he transposed it to guitar.
Yeah.
And he played it at like his school, like
his
talent show or something.
Was so awesome.
And it was like in the, like you listened to, we mentioned Tool earlier, and some of the structuring in Tool is like that. Every single metal guitar solo is like you slow it down and switch to a violin, and it's you could fit it right into
it totally
any
is
overture, right?
It's so cool.
It's so neat how those things are.
And it's
very, very
it's
connected.
So mathematical. Like the guy that Clay, that's kind of metal background, he's super into math. Like he's in math. He's like just loves all the formulas and all of that, and it makes sense that you would be because that classical side of music is definitely very structured around the mathematics and everything. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Robbie, so great. Robbie, I don't know if you remember. He made that whole drawing of the guitar, and it had all of the, like he figured out this way to chart the guitar.
He gave that to me because I remember telling him, because I was within 3 months of that kid picking up a guitar, he was better than I'll ever be.
So I came and visited in the summer. It was when I was in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And he hadn't learned to play the guitar yet. And I remember him saying, I think I want to learn how to play the guitar. This is maybe August. I came back in December for Christmas, and he was just like the best. Just went from, it's just amazing. It's really cool. I was very, like, I've been trying to play the piano for my whole life.
Yeah.
And you just got here and
even
4 months.
I remember being like, because he was so good. He was just really good at lead. Mm-hmm. And I've never been good at lead. I could, fake my way through being a rhythm guitarist, but fake.
I can't do that at all. I just can play the chords. Not even.
He showed me that drawing that you were talking about, as because I was talking to him about how like I struggled with I wanted to learn how to like do what he did, and he showed that to me, and I was like, "Fuck you for thinking this will make sense to me." like what the fuck am I looking at here?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, maybe I'll learn how to play the slide, because the slide is just all open tuning and it's all about feel. And then I like got like a week into being like, I'm going to play slide. And I went over to visit him, and he was like, oh yeah, I learned how to play slide. It's like, you fucking dick.
Brandon, you are a wonderful musician though. You're doing yourself, you're a great songwriter. I love your songs. You are. And I don't know if people know that about you, but because you haven't been playing in a while, but I remember, what's that band? You changed your names. I read it at high school. Yeah, Engine Light. What were you before that though?
Dead Ringer.
I think
which is an RJD2 album.
Okay, so it was when you
So
were
why
a
we
dead
change it?
ringer. I think I went to one of your shows. I mean, I
Maybe.
went to a few of your shows, but yeah,
Yeah.
you on the bass, like so
I
good.
I don't even know how to play the bass anymore.
You were so good. I'm sure you could be again, but you were great.
But my bass is sitting at Guilt. It's been there for. I think a couple months ago, something happened and a bassist needed it,
Yeah,
and it got played, and it made me so happy.
Yeah.
But it's like
you got to take
it's-
it back. Like play.
It's very much. Well, the reason I put it there originally is because I had no amp, and I live in apartments.
Yeah, that's hard.
I don't have a rig where I can set up headphones.
Yeah.
So it's just like it just wasn't getting played.
Yeah,
And I brought it down there with the intention of playing it down there.
yeah.
And then just never did. But I was really happy that someone played it. But it's very much like there's like stickers on it and stuff. It's very much like the bass player of a 22-year-old.
That's okay.
The bass of a 22-year-old.
That's like Sam's got a guitar that he doesn't really play. He just puts stickers on it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that eventually he'll. Yeah.
I see shown an interest in, and you mentioned earlier. Not here,
Yeah.
but earlier today, that he was, that he likes to sing.
Sam's he's got a great voice. Yeah, he's
Is he gonna hate me forever that I
No.
just said that he sings
No.
in the shower?
Oh no, not forever. You might just have to like
This episode's
buy him
this
pizza,
episode an hour long. He's
buy
not
him
gonna make it to
pizza
the end of it.
and play video games with him or something.
I think I can handle that.
He wants to play Dungeons and Dragons with you. Is what he really wants to do. So
Yeah, I gotta talk to the DM.
Even if it's just the two of you,
Yeah.
he wouldn't know. But anyways, but
Yeah.
he's got a great voice. He's very melodic and really picks up music fast. He memorizes lyrics fast. He was gotten into drums a little bit. He was taking some drum lessons. Rob's a drummer, so
Rob
he's
teaching him to play
also
drums?
well. We got him a teacher, but it was during
Yeah.
COVID, and so it was through video, and it just kind of was.
Even if he doesn't learn how to play the drums, he will. Everyone who can play the drums is that little bit much cooler than everyone that can't.
Yeah, I can't play the drums, so thanks, but
Neither can I. Neither
it's true.
can I.
It's true.
Because I can't keep a beat with my feet and my hands at the same
He's
time.
pretty decent. I mean, he's so he kind of will have pockets of time where he's interested in that. I've taught him. He's actually more interested in the bass lines of things, so I've taught him bass lines on the guitar of songs that he likes, and he. He's into it. I think he wants to be cool. He is cool, but he wants to be cool. So I think as he's getting older, I think music will be an outlet where he can be cool.
Yeah.
He's got the long hair, so
Yeah. And
he kind of looks.
He's 10 and likes the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, that's true.
He's going to be cool.
Yeah, he likes the Beastie Boys and NSYNC, so he's well balanced.
He's well balanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
are, after we wrap up here, you're going to move feet away
Yes.
to this other little area we have over here.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do a Gastown session.
Yes, I'm excited.
What are you playing?
I am playing one song that's an old school song from when I wrote when I was in Vancouver, that I actually wrote when I was in California away and going through some pretty hard stuff in my life. California.
Yeah, California. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play that one.
I'm happy you're playing that one. That's
Yeah,
a great song.
everyone likes that song. It's a song that when at shows where people actually knew the words and they'd sing along and always felt good. I'm like, they're singing it along with me. That was always a good feeling. So I'm playing that one. I'm playing some new songs. So July 1 is actually about Mom. It's the first song that I really tackled when I got back into songwriting. And it actually took me quite a long time to get through it because I kept crying whenever I'd try to write it. And so there's that one. And then there's Slide, which is kind of influenced by Hawaii with the rhythm and the feel, and talks about my surfer husband that gets mad and goes off and surfs instead of talking to me when I want to talk to him and things like that. And then what's the other one? can't remember what it's called, Lonely Sun, which I wrote the words half when I was a little bit stoned in my hot tub at night, looking at the stars.
And you found one that was lonely?
And
that looks lonely?
the rest was later in the day. It's fun because some of those songs are ones that I'm playing with the musicians. So I kind of had to relearn how to play them on my own, which was a fun challenge. But I think those are songs that we're going to actually be recording together in the studio, but I'll do them just me.
So before we sign off,
okay,
there's one question that I want to ask you.
Okay.
Because you talk about that experience of people singing your songs. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier that Sam sings along. Mm-hmm. So what's the experience feel like when your son is singing along to your music, to a song that you wrote? It's
pretty amazing. There's actually it happens often. I'll tell him it's time for bed, and the bathroom is across the hall from the studio. So he'll start brushing his teeth, and I'll often just go into the studio and start playing some songs. And then he'll come in and he'll sit on one of the studio chairs and just sit and watch me and just smile. And then he'll kind of start singing along, and it's magical. It's pretty cool. I was pregnant with him when I recorded an album. So he's always been there, around music and everything. And, but it's really amazing now to be at a point where we connect on an intellectual level musically. It's not just about me singing to him, but we're actually experiencing music together. We jam. Like he'll go on the drums and we'll have a little jam session. And it's amazing to move to a new phase in our relationship where we're communicating musically. So yeah, it's pretty special. It's pretty amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
Sam's the best.
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate to drink to a 10-year-old.
Yes, it is.
To Sam.
To Sam.
I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, he's so excited. Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Chelsea.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.